This is the Coach's Wife Life podcast. I'm Kristen Eargle, your host, a former TV sports reporter and fellow college football coach's wife. I'll go one-on-one with the strong women who are the backbone of college athletics and athletics of all levels. And now, Coach's Wife Life.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
Hey there, I'm Kristen Eargle, and we have an exciting podcast ahead. But first, I want to talk about something we all know way too much about: moving. Just the thought of that can bring an unsettling emotion. Well, I found a team that can take that load off your plate. It's D1 Relocation. This group can do it all. They can organize your move, coordinate with a moving company, and a trusted real estate agent. They can actually vet key household partners such as schools, insurance agents, physicians in the area. They can even help set up your Wi-Fi and water. It's incredible. So I've come to know this team, which is actually founded by a coach's wife. I think you should check it out. Whether you're looking to move now or in the future, it's d1relocation.com. Now on to our awesome podcast.
Well, I am so excited to have my next guest on the podcast, Melissa Hill. Welcome. You are from McNeese Baseball. Your husband is Justin Hill, the head baseball coach for McNeese. Thanks for being a part of us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is really fun.
I can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah, he does these interviews all the time, so it's kind of nice to be on this end.
No, we get to hear your side.
Yeah.
You have an incredible story, and you guys have had a tremendous amount of success there at McNeese. Let's talk about it a little bit. Before we talk details, what do you like on game day? Describe yourself in 3 words.
Okay, well, it is game day today, so it's good timing on it. I would say I am excited, nervous, and the word snacks comes to mind for me. I think I just have to be prepared for the game. And as a mom, being prepared for a game means you got to make sure you have the snacks. You got to make sure you have all the stuff. You got to make sure everybody has everything that they need. And it just kind of helps me to enjoy the game more if I know I've got all the stuff.
All the stuff.
I would say those 3 words. I like snacks. So
I love it. Okay, describe your coach in 3 words on game day.
Okay, so he is definitely very focused. He's very prepared, but he's loose in a sense too, because he, like, sometimes we'll go to breakfast that morning. Like, he's got a good balance of being able to. I think it's maybe the preparation part of it, because he's so prepared that he's able to, maybe grab a quick bite of lunch with me beforehand or do something along those lines. So. Or I could just say prepared 3 times. But he's going to write that lineup card. He's going to make all the copies. He's going to have all the charts filled out. He's going to have his clipboard. He'll have extra pens in his bag. He'll have everything he needs. I never have to worry about anything for him. As long as I can get my life together on game day and have everything for our girls, then, I think we're pretty set.
Okay, let's talk about the history here. 12th season there at McNeese. You recently had a 3-peat in SLC championship seasons, 19, 20, and 21, claiming 4 Southland Conference titles in 6 seasons. You guys have had tremendous, and when I booked the interview, you were on the nation's longest win streak, and you still are off to the best start, I believe, in school history. Why does the formula work?
I think that, it's fun. It's so fun. I think my husband loves what he does. And I think that our players, especially this year, I think that they're just meshing really well. And so that's really helpful. You can have a lot of really talented guys, but if they're not moving together as a unit, if they're not, picking each other up and communicating, and then it just doesn't work. And so I think we do have some talent, but I think that they're moving at a level of, just togetherness that I think it's just working. And sometimes it just comes together. Sometimes, like, we've had a lot of 1-run ball games or come from behinds. We play a lot of games in baseball. And so they've just found ways to win. And I think that that's what makes, if you look back at some of our past teams that we've had, I think that you'll just see that they just find ways to win, even if you're not playing your best baseball that day. Because it's going to happen. You're going to, not play your best every single game. They just find ways to pick each other up and score more runs than the other guy.
Okay, let's hear about you. Where are you from? Where did you guys meet?
Okay, so we are both from North Louisiana. So we're in South Louisiana now, which, if you ask anyone, is two totally different worlds. I mean,
It is.
your coverage, but so North Louisiana, very different than South Louisiana. But we actually met at church camp. Um, so that's a fun thing to tell our kids now that our girls are teenagers. We're a little more like, should we let them go to church camp? No. But so we met there, which is a nice way to meet someone because your values are the same. You both have a steady and a strong belief, which I think is what makes our family work and our marriage work. So that as a starter. But I was not into baseball when we met. I have 3 older brothers, but none of them were into like sports. And I was sporty in high school. I played soccer and ran cross country, but I didn't know a ton about baseball. But when you start dating a guy who lives and breathes it and wants to coach it, then you learn a lot really fast. So I absorbed as much of it as I could. And, I still learn. I know a lot. And my girls know a lot. I take a lot of pride in that they're going to surprise some boy someday when they go to a baseball game. But yeah, just learning it and enjoying the game as much as I can.
Usually I say, did you envision this life? And if you met at church camp, it sounds like you guys met in high school. So you may see this coming a little bit.
Yeah, I do enjoy this life. He, when I met him, so we met when we were younger, but we actually didn't start dating until college. So I had graduated, and we have a little bit of an age gap. So he was done with school, and I was in college, and so he had already kind of decided that coaching was what he wanted to do. So for sure, I signed up for this. I knew what I was getting into. I know I have some coaches' wives friends who were like, oh, he was doing something else, and then he got into coaching. So I for sure knew that that this was the life. Now, did I know what it was going to be like?
No.
Absolutely not. But I'm a go with the flow kind of girl. And so I just knew it was going to work. Like it was going to fit. I was able to kind of see that. And like I said, the foundation is there. We both have a love for Christ. And I just knew whatever adventure we needed to go on, that we would do it together and have a strong foundation in that.
Oh, I love your perspective there. Okay, are you working right now?
Yes, so I do work. I actually own a small business here in Lake Charles. It's called Niche Creative Studio. We started out, we've kind of like evolved over the years, but right now we do custom t-shirts and embroidery. And so that keeps me really busy owning a small business. The funny thing is though, is that my small business is actually right across the street from the baseball stadium. So we are in close proximity to each other. When I wanted to open up a business when we first moved here to Lake Charles, there was a space that happened to be open right across the street. And, I was like, hey, how do you feel if I was like in the building right across the street from you? And of course, he was super supportive, about it. And he's like, yeah, I can bring you lunch or we'll just like be right there for game day, but then I think he didn't think that all the way through because when he tells me practice is over, I can like look across the street and say, and oh, you're still out there, or I can kind of see what's happening. But it's really nice. It's nice. It means our whole family unit, our life kind of one sort of little area. And if I have to work that day and then run over to a game, it's right across the street. So.
That's perfect. Okay, so not every day, like I talk about on the podcast all the time, it's my favorite question, even though it's kind of a sad question, is just the day that you are on the win streak or you're off the best start. We have tough times. What would you say is maybe some of the toughest adversity you've faced, and what did you rely on to get through those moments?
So I think 2020 was really hard for everyone. We were actually it's probably a little bit more challenging, the things that we had to go through during that year. Of course, that Justin was in the middle of his season when the shutdown happened. So they were doing baseball, and then suddenly there was like no baseball. So if you can imagine, like, if all of a sudden there was a plan and this is what your husband did, and then suddenly it was gone. That was for sure a challenge, but a lot of us had that challenge in whatever sport you were doing in college athletics. But then a couple months later, after that, we got a visit from two pretty major storms. We had Hurricane Laura, that came through and pretty much devastated Lake Charles. And then like a month later, we had another hurricane that came through, Hurricane Delta. So the first one that came through pretty much wiped out my business. So I lost 2 exterior walls and all the contents basically of my store. And then in our home, we had 150-mile-an-hour winds that blew through. And so we had to overcome those challenges. His stadium was damaged. Actually, part of his stadium, we were so great about being across the street. Part of his stadium was like in my parking lot, my store. And so, the cleanup of that, not knowing where his boys were going to practice and be, we were thankful. We were very lucky compared to some. We actually got to continue to live in our home. But even though it just had plywood all over it, I say it worked out. By October, we looked like a haunted house, the plywood and stuff, and made the best of it. But, between that and then having to rebuild my store, I didn't get to that location, until January, the beginning of the year. So it was a long couple of months, challenge after challenge after challenge. And I think the biggest thing that got us through those things is one, our faith. We knew that God's got it. And whatever that looks like, that we were going to trust him with that. And it wasn't going to look like how we thought. And there was a trust part in that. I think the other part of it was just knowing, we tried to make a mantra of people over stuff. Stuff always it can come and go, it can get damaged. We had some things that, are important to us, but nothing is more important than the people around us. So as long as our family's okay, our friends were okay, my staff was okay, then the stuff can work itself out. We'll figure that out with insurance, and we'll get more stuff. And so I think just being grounded in that, and knowing that was enough for us just to be okay, and the people around us to be okay, then I think you can kind of work your way through pretty much anything.
Wow. I love that. Well, not love what you went through, but love your perspective through it, that it's about people, and we can get so hung up in status and how many wins and how many things we own, and our structure of our life is comforting sometimes doing the same thing. And when that's just pulled from you, and it changes everything.
Yeah, and nothing that you're even in control over. I think there's a lot of
right. It's dealing with things you can't control.
Exactly. And I think that's life. I think that would I have loved that hurricane to just like maybe just take like that would have been great. But the bond that I saw that team that year go through, the growth from my family, my husband, the things that we overcame, those are just things that that you just can't learn any other way. You got to do that. We were made to do hard things. We are created to do hard things. When you go to the gym and work out, it's hard, right? But that's how you get stronger. You have to break down the muscles. You got to build them back up again. And so it goes for life. You're going to go through hard things. We were made to do that. But we don't have to do them alone. And so I think that we overcame those challenges, and hey, we're still living in South Louisiana. So, and I hear it's going to be an active hurricane season. So, we're just going to keep pushing and just trust that whatever comes our way that we can handle.
Wow. Okay. Do you have some Coach's Wife mentors out there? It sounds like you're a mentor to others.
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know about that. I try to to just learn as I go and share as I can. I had some great ones growing up, as Justin and I were newlyweds when we were at Southeastern. Rachel Artigues was there, the head coach, Jay Artigues. He's now the AD. And she was great and supportive and let me ride along with them to games. And, it's just this, this young newlywed. When we were at at Sam Houston, Linda Johnson, who is Mark Johnson, who was like the longtime A&M head baseball coach. And then he ended up at Sam Houston. She was really wonderful to me. And then, yeah, we've been here at McNeese now for Justin's in his 12th season. So I've, had the opportunity to have a lot of, assistant coaches' wives and things like that from theirs. But yeah, I'm very lucky. I got a good example of coaches' wives that were all in. And that was encouraging for me. And they showed me like that you can be all in and you can go to all the games and you're not taking anything away from your family time or being away from your husband. It just looks different. Our life just looks different. And different's not bad. We're not sitting around the dinner table every night together, eating a meal and those kind of things. We're going through the fast food line and we're going to eat in his office, or we're, packing around to games and stuff. So it looks different and that's okay. And so I had some good examples of that when we first started out.
You've had sustained success in one spot, and that is hard to do. I was talking with another coach's wife, and I'll leave her name out because we just, had a confidential conversation. She's having sustained success in softball somewhere. And she's like, it's hard. It's hard. It's kind of hard when you're losing. It's hard when you're winning, but there's another level of pressure when you keep winning and keep winning. It's a beautiful thing. It's what you strive for. It's what you work for. But things like winning streaks, that comes with a lot of pressure. Is there anything that you think that, and again, it's kind of brag on yourself, but go ahead and tell us. I mean, we're all trying to learn something here. What is it that you might be doing that's helping that others might not see from the outside, but it's having an impact on the way he's able to sustain success at McNeese? What would you think that would be?
Yeah, I think for us, when Justin was an assistant coach, we didn't put down roots. We didn't, you try not to get attached. There's a lot of things where, you're going to be moving around a lot. I mean, that's just whether you're assistant coach or head coach, sometimes that's just the life that we live. But for us, when we got here to Lake Charles, we really prayed about it. And it was just one of those things that right off the bat, we were like, we just have to sink in deep here. Whether God has us here for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, now 12 years. We just knew immediately that we had to put roots down and make them deep. And that's scary. That's like, because anytime you have to pull those deep roots out, it hurts more, whenever you're keeping it shallow. When you got to go, and it's not as painful, and you just sort of, you head out and do the next thing. But for us, we just knew that it was going to be important. And so for us, that meant finding a core group of friends, finding a church, finding a community, because that meant no isolation, that meant accountability, that meant support, that meant deep friendships instead of surface level friendships. And so to me, that translated for baseball in a sense of our community. We connected with our community really quickly. And it meant we were in our community and we were building relationships, and not in like a superficial way, but in just like we want to get to know the people around us. So we want to get to know what this community is about. I mean, even though both he and I went to school at LSU, so we knew South Louisiana, and we lived in Hammond, which is also in South Louisiana. Lake Charles is a different culture. It's right here on the Texas border. There's big industry here. There's 2 casinos. There's just life is different in Lake Charles. And so we wanted to immediately embrace what that was. And that was really scary. That's one of those things where you just knew like it could mean a lot of hurt, and it could mean, that it would be really hard to leave, and really painful if God had ever called us somewhere else. And we still feel that way. But it was just, and I think that immediate connection with our community helped our players buy into that, helped the people around us and our supporters buy into that, because they knew we were all in. A lot of people would tell us, oh, well, McNeese is a good like stepping stone. You can start there for a little bit as a head coach. And then, because we had seen it done before at other places. And that's just never how we saw this job or wanted to see this job. We wanted to see it as a place that we would raise our children. When we got here, our kids were 1 and 3, and now they're 15 and 12. So this is the only home that they've ever known. Now, if God called us somewhere else, we would go. Would it be really hard? Absolutely. But I think that the enriching part of it is the people that you've met and the bonds that you have placed, that I think God is able to move and work in those deeper connections in our experience a little bit better. So maybe that's a part of it. Maybe we just have figured out a way to win and and stick around. But I just feel like that was probably the biggest thing for us, is immediately when we got here, sink in deep, quickly, and just trust that if it hurts, that means it meant something in the end.
Oh, well stated. How do you maintain balance in your life? You're a small business owner. You're running 2 girls around to their events. What's your secret?
I think it is just be with each other as much as we can, however that looks like. So sometimes that means we are eating dinner up at the baseball field, or when Justin and I had first gotten married and he was going recruiting, I was going recruiting too. Car rides, and we are experts in baseball snacks and concession stands. I can tell you the best and the worst, and I can. I just think it's just finding balance is just figuring out how to be together. Even if he's working on baseball and my 2 girls are working on schoolwork, and I've got stuff going on, we're just in the same space. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's just, that's the quality time, is just being together. And so whatever that looks like, we try not to live separate lives and try not to do our own things. We try to find ways to do it together.
What's a day in a life for you?
I'm very lucky that my husband can take the girls to school every day. So I wake and I get them dressed. And he, as long as they're not on the road, he gets them up and or takes them to school and drops them off. We're in that season of life with like the 2 school drop-offs,
Yeah.
But so he drops them off and goes to the gym, and then I can get dressed and I meet him at the gym. And like I said, we're in a similar space. We don't work out together. We're like not like one of our goals or anything.
Right.
But we're in the same space together, and so work out, and then I head into the store. Running a small business takes a lot of work and a lot of time. But I'm at a point now where I get to pick up my kids every day from school, and like that's success for me. I can, I contribute to our income. That's success for me. I don't miss things. Like I can go to all the school plays, and I can, and I can be at all the stuff, and I can go to every game. And so I think I'm finding balance in that too, of go to work and I pick the girls up from school, and then we figure out who's got what that night. Do we have dance tonight? Is it, drumline practice? Is it, is it home game? Like what all is happening? And just kind of figuring out all that kind of stuff, and then, do it all again the next day.
There's a lot of people that are working or trying to find jobs throughout the country when their husband moves, and you had a lot of boldness to start your own business. So what advice would you give someone that maybe has a dream out there of owning your own business? Where do you turn to research? How did you pull this off?
Yeah, it's really scary but if you go back to our philosophy of putting roots down, I mean, starting a business and pursuing a dream of owning my own business was something that was a no-brainer for us. But again, I think that would be really nice. I have some coaches' wives, friends that have jobs where they're remote. They can work from home, and I think that that's amazing. Like that would be like ideal, right? If you go anywhere, then it doesn't matter where he goes, then you have a job, and there's some security in that. So I love that part of it. But that wasn't what God saw for me or called me to do. He called me to something different. And so owning my own business is something I've always wanted to do. And so there was a need and an opportunity to do it here in Lake Charles. So I just said, let's do it. Let's jump in. And we've overcome a lot of stuff too with COVID and with the shutdown and all that. I learned how to sew. So I sew. I've done that since I was a kid. My mom sews, my mother sews. And so in order to keep my store afloat over the shutdown, I learned how to sew masks. That was something that was hard at first to find. Now you can find a mask anywhere, but at the time
It was hard to find. I remember this.
so I would here at the house, we cleared off our dining room table, and I brought my sewing machine, and I learned how to sew masks, and that's what basically kept us afloat during the shutdown, as I made my business essential. And so I think that even though it's a small business, and what I do right now is like custom t-shirts and embroidery, I have just kind of ebbed and flowed. So I think my biggest advice for anyone wanting to open up a small business would be just be willing to pivot, be willing to sort of change, because I never thought I would be sewing and selling masks at one point. But it was a need. And so I fulfilled that need. I started out as like a sewing and fabric store. And now I sell custom t-shirts and do embroidery and things like that. So I think would just be willing to kind of pivot what that dream is. I always say like surrender the dream. It can be your dream. He gave that to you. But if you're holding it super tight and you're like, no matter what, this is what it's going to be like. Then you've got that you're probably going to lose it, because that's how life works. It's going to change. Things, challenges are going to come, things are going to happen. But if you're keeping it open and you're giving it and you surrender that dream over to God, then whatever that looks like, as long as he's in it, then it's going to be successful.
Wow, this great advice. That's amazing. Okay, so do you enjoy the recruiting aspect of all this? How involved are you on recruiting visits?
Okay, so it's definitely changed a lot over the years. I'm sure you've probably seen that. So it used to be, you had the kid come in, and it was a high school kid, and the parents came in, and so you have them over, you take them out to dinner. It's like a whole thing, whatever. And now a lot of times, especially now that with the portal and everything, you may get a kid that comes in and it's just him, and I may not even see them until they're on campus, then until we've signed them and they're coming on. So it's definitely changed a lot. I do enjoy it. I like meeting, the parents, especially. I think it's helpful for them to see the people that are going to be basically, watching out for their kid for the next few years. But it's definitely changed a lot. And so now I'm not as involved, just because it's just changed a bunch. But as soon as we get them, we try to have them over, and I try to meet them, and so I build the bond a little bit more after, now that things have kind of changed a little bit.
Do you cook or cater, or a little both?
Oh, I do not cook. I'm very thankful. I actually have a husband who enjoys cooking. So my husband does a lot of the cooking for our family. But as it goes for feeding 34 boys, we cater every time, because there's just cannot basic kitchens are not set up to they eat for 2 or 3 people. Like,
I know.
Large humans. I mean, even football players that are like bean poles that are like pitchers or whatever, they still consume.
Isn't it crazy?
Yes. So we learned early on, like, like I'm out on feed, as many of them. So we have a lot of like some friends here that own restaurants that we can like get some catering from, and we do like a lot of pasta and rice dishes, South Louisiana. So that get them that bread, that French bread and whatever, baguettes, and so that's helpful. But I will cook, but do we eat more at home cooked meals when it's not baseball season? Absolutely, because my husband is probably the one making it. Do we eat out more a lot during baseball season? Yes. Do I make a mean sandwich? You betcha.
What's your favorite thing that he cooks?
Oh, he makes gumbo. Like,
Ooh.
it is so good. And my girls and I have like we have, we don't have traditional South Louisiana palates, so he makes it to like our it's not too spicy and
Yeah.
it's real flavorful, and he spends all day cooking it and chopping, and it's just like a full day's process. When I know he comes home and he's got all the sausage and all the stuff, I'm just like, do him a little happy dance. Like, I just know it's a good day. But he makes
That'll
my
be good.
salad. I'm the only one in the family that eats potato salad with my gumbo, like in my gumbo. And so he makes me a whole big, pot of that. And so that's probably my favorite thing that he makes. And my girls would probably say the same.
Hold on. I didn't even know potato salad went in gumbo.
Girl, yes. Make that.
I lived in Baton Rouge and I did not know about this.
Yes, make that potato salad. Get your rice, pour your gumbo on top, and get you a big old scoop. Put it on the top of it, and just eat it all in one bite. It's change your life. Try it.
Interesting.
Try it next time. There's a contrast. I do like cold potato salad, so I do like that contrast of the hot and the
I
cold.
can see this now. It's almost like gravy on potatoes kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little
Wow,
something
okay.
different. And just try it next time. Some people are like, no, got to keep them separate. Some people keep it separate and do like one bite and then go because they don't want it all, to kind of be in. I'm just an all in kind of girl, so just like throw it all in there for me, and I'll take it. But yeah, change your life. You have to try it next time.
Okay, wait. I'm veering from the podcast, but is this like a all over state Louisiana thing, or is this a Lake Charles thing?
No, I think it's a pretty. I'm in South Louisiana. Not everyone does. I mean, any place that you go to order gumbo, there's gonna be potato salad with it. Like, I mean, that's just the sort of. It's how you're gonna put the two together. And so, I mean, when we got to South Louisiana, and especially here, I mean, I just people started putting in it, and I was like, oh, I'm not one of them. Like, my plate has to all be separate. I mean, just sit all together. I'm all right.
Yeah, same. I'm all right.
Place. But
I'm trying it.
and some people are though. And some people don't like it, but I had met a potato salad I don't like.
I love potato salad.
So put it in my favorite food, which is gumbo.
Yeah.
And I'm good to go.
Okay, final question before we hit rapid fire. What's the most rewarding aspect to you about being a coach's wife?
Okay, so I would say for me, especially since we've been here for so long and we have like a lot of like local kids and things like that, I think is seeing our players as fathers, like husbands and fathers. Like, I think that is the coolest part about what we do, because you see them as this like young, like 18 to 22-year-old kid, and the obstacles that they overcome and the things that they're doing. And then you see them, like, the life lessons that they've learned during baseball. And then when baseball is over, which for a majority of them, it ends, right? We had some that, that go into the major leagues and things like that. But the percentage wise, the majority of the guys that we've had, even the last 12 years, they're not still playing baseball. So when we get that invitation in the mail for their wedding, or I get to see on Facebook them holding them sweet babies,
No.
it just is really, it's the best, because we got to help them through, I mean, 18 to 22, that time frame. You're still figuring out yourself and what you want to do, and you're still navigating how to overcome, challenges, and you kind of do all of that in sports. You see it all. You're going to have the good times and you're going to have the bad times, and you're going to see how you respond in those situations. And so to see them sort of like go through that process and then find a spouse and make a family and find a career, I think for me, that's one of the funnest parts about what we do.
Okay, rapid fire. You ready?
Okay.
Who's the most famous person in your phone?
Famous person. I don't think I have like really famous. I have a lot of people in my phone. I'm terrible at. I will not delete you. You're not going anywhere. So if 10 years from now I have your name and number, like, you're gonna still be in there when it pops up. So I would probably say I don't have anybody like a celebrity or anybody like that, but I just have a lot of people in my phone.
I'll take it. What's one item on your bucket list you've checked off and one left to check off?
Okay, so this is probably like silly because I'm actually a baseball coach's wife, but I really want to visit all of the Major League Baseball stadiums
Mm.
at some point. And we've hit a lot of them, my husband and I, but I've always really wanted to go to Wrigley Field. I wanted to see the Ivy. I wanted to do all that kind of stuff. And my husband and I did that recently. So that was definitely really cool. And go to like to Boston to like a Red Sox game. That there's just some really iconic fields that are on my bucket list that we've been able to check off in like the last 10 years, because every vacation is going to be around a baseball game that we get to go see. So that's probably it. You still keep checking off some of those Major League Baseball stadiums.
Who are the last 3 people you've texted?
Okay, so my husband for sure, because he texted me to see if I needed lunch. And I asked him a question because I couldn't remember a date or something that we like what year did we get here? Just like those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then someone from my store, because there's always stuff if I'm not there that they need. And then actually my teenager texted me to tell me she was hungry, because that's what she do.
They do.
So
I know.
like a little emoji of bread. That's all. And that's the sign that says, hey, after school, I'm going to be really hungry. So,
I need a snack.
yes,
Snack queen.
Yeah.
Okay. Funniest account you follow on Instagram.
Okay, so I don't know the actual handle of it, but so I lead worship at my church. And so music is something that's really important to me. So probably, okay, there's an account that I follow that's like worship fails. It's like when the microphone doesn't work, or the words aren't right on the screen, or the auto tune is off that someone has. It crack me up so bad, because it's so true. Like, it's so reality that of like anything can happen. Like even in it at church, like even on like work days. So those crack me up. Like I just love to see how people react. So probably that account.
What about your life impresses your kids the most?
Okay, so I have asked my kids this recently, which that's a very scary question to ask. Because you really don't know what they're going to say. And both of them, it was like a sense of like that they saw good balance in my life, work and family.
Like it.
And so I appreciated that. I never wanted like open up my own business for like them to be like, oh, mom's really busy and she was never around or busy. So I think that they see good balance for us. So.
Okay. You've heard them all. But what would be your walk-up song?
Okay, yes, I have heard some good ones over the years. And some of them pick stuff that I'm just like, no, like it doesn't. Okay, so the only thing I can think of is that for some reason, like a song that fires you up to me is like when you were in high school sort of song or whatever. So I think anything from Usher, I think would pretty much just be like would fire me up to like just be like laser beams out of the ballpark. Which means like a couple years ago when he was like at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
So I think I embarrassed my kids more than anything or all, because I was just like, got some. Now as if like they're like, Mom, please stop.
I know my kids were like, Mom, you know every word to that trash. I know.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying he's trash. I'm just saying some of the words are not very Christ-like. But it was fun. Okay, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
For a replay of this episode or previous episodes, visit coacheswifelife.org and follow us on social media at Coaches Wife Life.